Welcome to SM Coaching number 39, and in this webinar I'm going to show you step by step how to set up a WordPress site on Amazon Cloud and using a cloud service known as BitNami. WordPress is undoubtedly the most popular content management system in the world. BitNami is an app deployment platform and cloud hosting service that allows you to deploy WordPress and actually 30 over other applications, including applications like Joomla, applications like even I think Sugar CRM, Concrete 5, and a whole host of other apps on Amazon Cloud. And in fact, they recently also connected with the Microsoft Azure cloud services. Of course, on the other hand, we have the Amazon, not S3. S3 is the simple storage solution. This cloud system requires the use of the Amazon EC2 or Elastic Cloud Compute, and this is Amazon's scalable pay-as-you-go cloud computing platform. And we have Amazon Offers, which allows you to use EC2 even free for 12 months if you choose what Amazon calls a micro instance. So if you have a small site or a new site and you're not worried about large traffic, well, good traffic is actually not a bad problem, it's a good problem, I'm sure, then this presentation I think would interest you. There's 7 steps to getting from zero to hero. Of course, you will need a custom domain if you want to map this WordPress URL to your custom domain. It can be any domain you want. It can be a .com, .net, .org, .biz. You just need a domain. If you don't want a domain, that's fine, because you'll also be specifying a hosted domain name, which would be something.bitnamiapp.com. The 7 steps are to have an Amazon S3 account. And we obviously covered Amazon S3 in a previous webinar. It's the same account, by the way. So if you really have an Amazon S3 for storage, you can follow on this tutorial immediately. You will need to sign up for BitNami, which offers you the deployment of an app. So one app deployment on a single server for free. So there's actually no cost if you keep it to one. And what I'm going to be showing you are the steps to set up Amazon S3 BitNami setup. Once your BitNami server is set up, you can manage it obviously with some features and tweaks. Assign the custom domain, and I'm going to assume that you purchased the domain previously. Assign a static IP. Don't get afraid by all this stuff. So Amazon BitNami interfaces with Amazon via the API, and you will need a static IP, which is an IP address essentially to point the domain name that you purchase to the IP address that your WordPress is residing on. So we need to make it static as opposed to dynamic, and there's an easy way to do this within BitNami. We need to configure the DNS, which means we have to change what we call the A record in the domain registrar, and I'm going to show you how to do this. And lastly, move WordPress to the root. By default, because of the fact that BitNami is able to deploy multiple apps, so you can deploy, for example, WordPress and Joomla on the same server, then they have a path to the app, which is the BitNami subdomain.com/WordPress or /Joomla. So if you want to use a custom domain where you're only hosting WordPress, then unfortunately there are some tweaks that you have to make, and I'm going to show you how anyway. Is non-technical if you just follow my screenshots and my instructions. But what we will need to do is to log in via SSH. But again, don't think about that. Just follow my screenshots. I think you should be okay. So let's move ahead. I'm first going to show you the screenshots, the 7 steps to getting this set up. Of course, the first one is Amazon S3 setup, and you want to go to aws.amazon.com/S3 sign up for Amazon Web Services. You will need a credit card, but as I said, because of your free usage tier, your credit card will not get deducted as long as you stay under unless you deploy a micro instance, which is great for a new website. So as mentioned, Amazon has free usage tier, and it's not just Amazon S3, it's also available for Amazon EC2, which is the platform that we'll be building our site on via BitNami. As usual, every time you access Amazon, you will need 2 things: the access key ID and a secret key. So an access key ID will have a corresponding secret access key, and to get there after you're signed up for Amazon, you can go to security credentials either through my accounts or on the left after you logged in, and you will see access credentials with your access key ID, and you have to click show to get your secret access key. Now on over to the BitNami setup. Here's the URL for BitNami. Is bitnami.org/cloud. When you get there, click on Get Started. You'll be asked to register. Once you have registered, you can log in to the dashboard. This is what the dashboard looks like. The first thing you want to do is to click Manage. And what you will do here is to manage and click New and enter your Amazon Web Services credentials, which are your access key ID and your secret access key. The default location, just leave it as it is, and the name, you can leave it as it is as well, doesn't matter. So the important part here is to be able to enter your AWS credentials, because without this we cannot proceed, because again, BitNami relies on Amazon for storage and cloud deployment in this case. Click Save when you've entered both information. So now you're ready to deploy your server. You go to Servers, click New, and you'll be presented with a new server setup options. You can enter anything you want here as a name. This is for your reference. And then your domain name. Now your domain name can be short, can be long, can be a keyword, doesn't matter. So in my example, I'm going to be using ClickBook as a name and domain name clickbook.bitnamiapp.com. So this is your URL. If you don't want to use a custom domain, then you can access your website using this custom domain name, subdomain.bitnamiapp.com. But of course, you'll be branding BitNami. And I'll show you later on how to have a custom domain and map it over this BitNami subdomain. Now the first thing you want to do here is actually very simple, folks. Follow me along, yeah? Is to click on New Application, Add New Application, search for WordPress. You can do it by typing WordPress and the options show up, or you can go to Blog and the options will also show up, and then select, in this case, the latest version, WordPress 3.50. Click OK, and you move to the next step, which is application options. So over here, click on it. You will have a chance to enter the application login. This is the username for your login, and you know, a lot of people use admin for login. Over here, the default user can be anything you want. Your application password. Now the password needs to have a capital alphabet, a small cap alphabet, I think numbers, and more than 8 characters, I think, or a symbol. Display name becomes your name, and the default email will be the email you use to sign up BitNami. Click on OK. Now, believe it or not, that is all you need to do at this point in stage, and then you can now click on Build and Launch. Now, once the server is up, it's going to take you maybe 10 to 15 minutes for the server to be deployed in real time. So you have to be a little bit patient, or you can just go do your stuff. You don't even need to be connected to the internet. You will deploy the server on its own. And the next logical step is to manage the server. Once the server is up, how do you know the server is up? You will say status running. You click on manage, and the steps can be any sequence, not this particular sequence necessarily, but in the video I'm going to show you later on, the next step I did was to assign custom domain. So I click on properties. The public DNS is already here, which is clickbook.bitnamiapp.com, and I click on the edit symbol and click on add custom domain. And all you need to do right now, folks, is just to key in your custom domain, whatever .com or .net, whatever it is. Click OK. Next step, assign static IP. So over here, I'm still under managing a server. There is a button known as assign IP. You click on that, and by default it assigns a dynamic IP. You want to change it to newly created static IP and click OK. And what's going to happen is that Amazon is going to assign a static IP dedicated for you. And here's what's happening. As long as the IP is being used on a real server, then you don't get charged for the static IP. But if your server is not online, in other words, it's paused, for example, there is a charge actually of, I think, 0.002 cents per hour or something like that. So you do want to read up on these aspects, because the static IPs are not free if your server is on pause. But of course, what you could do is to release the IP, and then you will not be charged. So don't hold on to static IPs if you're not deploying it on a live server. And this is the Amazon charging model. Anyway, all you have to do is to click newly created static IP and click OK. Moving on, configure DNS using the static IP. Now, the IP is provided to you under properties IP address. Now, how do you know it's static? Because it says static next to the IP address. So this is unique to just your website, believe it or not. So what you do is that you copy this information, get to your domain registrar. Now in this case, my domain was purchased, but it's not being hosted. So for me to change my DNS, I have to come back to the domain registrar. In this case, it's GoDaddy, and click on my domain itself, and I'm provided the DNS manager. I click on launch, and I look up for the A record, which looks like this, A host. I enter the static IP, which was provided to me by Amazon, and I click on save zone file. Now what this does, the A record, is the A record points to an IP address, in this case the static IP address. And once the domain has resolved, it means that you are able to access the site through a custom domain, and when the custom domain is being searched online, it will point to this static IP, which in turn points to your WordPress site. The last step is a little bit tricky. I'm going to explain to you, but I have a video to back up anyway, is to move the WordPress to the root URL. Now, by default, BitNami will create your domain, and once you met the custom domain, like in my example, clickbook.me/WordPress, that is where your WordPress deployed site is. It will be clickbook.me/WordPress. Now, what if you don't want it to reside on the subdirectory WordPress? Can it be that I have clickbook.me, and when I type in this domain name, my WordPress site shows up, because this is really the more usual way of how we assign our sites? Answer would be absolutely yes. So the procedures to move WordPress from the WordPress site directory to the root URL. For that to happen, you need to connect to Amazon Cloud, and the only way you can do it, because it's a very secure site, is to download a specific key or key pair. So going back to your BitNami Cloud under Manage Servers, there's another button called Connect. When you click that, you'll be able to select the PPK. So .ppk key pair, don't worry what it is, just download it to your computer, and you will need a free software known as Putty, P-U-T-T-Y. The URL is putty.org, and you can download it. And once you've downloaded it, it's an exe file, by the way. You're going to go straight to SSH, AUTH, or authorization, and now you're going to browse for the .ppk file, like so. Then you're going to click session. Now enter the domain if the domain has already propagated. If the domain has not propagated, then you enter the BitNami subdomain. Either way, you click on open. Because it has the authorization key, which is the .ppk, what's going to happen is the next screen. Okay, a run window box shows up, command box shows up, and it says login as with a colon. All you do right now is to type BitNami, BITNAMI, and hit enter. Two more steps, and just follow exactly what I do here without even thinking or wondering. It just works. This is the SSH statement you have to type. I'm going to walk you through audioly, and you will see me do it visually through the video tutorial. Once you type in BitNami and hit enter, you will come up with the green command prompt, of which you're just going to type in what's going to be here after the $sign. You're going to type in sudo space and follow the entire path /opt/BitNami /apps/WordPress /update IP space, and this you have to follow exactly --appurl space /. Okay, so there's actually a space here, / and then hit enter. And what would happen is that it would use a special command, update IP, to move WordPress to the root. And once you do that, you need to rename the update IP file, and we're going to rename it as update.back. So how to do that? Well, on the green cursor, which will be after the $sign, you just enter sudo space mv space /opt/BitNami /apps /WordPress. This is the path of the update IP file, /update IP, and then after this a space, then /opt/BitNami /apps/WordPress/updateip.back and hit enter. So don't think about this at all. Follow it step by step, and this is the result. You end up with a custom domain and a blog which is hosted on the Amazon cloud. To log in is your standard application username and password which you specified when you set it up on BitNami earlier. So now I'm going to show you the video. I'm going to play the video because I've already recorded this in the interest of time, and I'm going to do a verbal walkthrough with you one more time. I'm also going to pass you the video to download so you can follow the video and follow this tutorial until you're confident, and then you can go out there messing around and getting your WordPress site also set up on Amazon Cloud. Now, I need to say is this, that for BitNami, the facilities that you saw are free as long as it's one micro instance. So it has to be one site per BitNami account, and then it's going to be free. If you have more than one server, each server will cost you about $15 US. So you don't really want that. You want to make sure that you have one Amazon account with a 12 months free tier usage, one BitNami account that will allow you to assign one custom domain on one micro instance for WordPress deployment on the cloud. Now I have a video here, and I'm going to show you the exact steps via the video. I'm going to let the video run. It's actually 7 minutes long. What I'm going to do is to walk through and narrate with you so that you can see exactly what's happening. And then, of course, if any questions, you can ask me later. We're going to start at bitnami.org, and I'm going to let it run right now. And this is in real time, so we want to be able to click Get Started. Or in this case, I'm going to log in because I'm already registered. With your BitNami email and password. Now, I've already updated my Amazon AWS credentials under Cloud Manager. I'm going to skip that. I'm going straight to create a server. So this is where I enter the name of the server. In this case, I'm calling it ClickBook, and I'm going to enter the domain name, which is a subdomain for BitNami. Click on Add New Application, Blog, and select the latest WordPress version 3.5-0, and go to Application Options. Enter a password. It has to be a strong password, remember. If not, it will remind you anyway. Change the display name to my name. Click OK. And the rest of them I'm just going to leave blank, so you don't really have to touch any of these things. And you just can go ahead and click on Build and Launch. So what's going to happen is the server gets deployed. It will take you about 10-15 minutes. I'm just speeding it up in this video for time purposes. Done. The next step, create custom domain, and in this case it's clickbook.me. Click OK. It'll take a while to propagate. Well, nothing's going to happen right now because you haven't assigned the static IP, but we're assigning the custom domain right now. And right now we do assign the IP. Click on that and select newly created static IP. Click OK. Done. What's next? Well, you now have an IP address, and on the right of the IP address you see the word static. So that is going to be your static IP address assigned to your WordPress installation. And remember that the static IP is actually free as long as your WordPress site is live. The moment you take your site off, then Amazon will bill you for a static IP. Go back to the domain registrar and click launch. The A record's right on top. So right now what I do is to key in the static IP address, copy paste, and then click on save zone file. So coming back here, I'm done. I'm just showing you a test. Click book.bitnamiapp.com, click access my applications, and I only have WordPress module installed. Click access, and right now you can see that the URL is pointing to clickbook.com/bitnamiapp.com/WordPress. I can log in as per usual, enter my username and password just to show you. And I'm in the dashboard. But let's say I want to get rid of the WordPress because I'm going to use a custom domain. Step 1, click on connect, download the .ppk file onto your computer, click close. Then remember, download PuTTY and install it on your computer. Connection SSH, authorization AUTH, browse and add the BitNami ppk file you just downloaded. Next one, go to session, enter your host name. In this case, it could be the BitNami URL at this point in time, whilst the custom domain has not resolved. Login as BitNami, remember, BITNAMI, hit enter. So now the first command, you see the green cursor over there. What I do is that I have the Word document of the commands. I just take it as a reference, which is to use the update IP to move WordPress to the root, and I just type straight sudo space /opt/bitnami /apps /WordPress /update IP space -- app URL space / click enter, and that's done for the first step. Look at this, I remove the WordPress and I click. Can you see right now? And if I refresh, voila, WordPress is now at the root of my custom domain. I have to get rid of the update IP, so I follow the next one, sudo space mv space /opt /bitnami /apps /WordPress /update IP. Wow, I type pretty fast. That's pretty cool. Space, leave a space there, /opt /bitnami /apps /WordPress /update IP.back, and click enter. And you're done. So this basically renames the update IP file, which has to be renamed, and it's renamed to update IP.back. So folks, the site is still live, and let's get there. So you can see here that this is actually a real WordPress website. There's no other way to call this. And you can log in. And I hope I have the correct password. Now I do. So I can update WordPress. As per normal. I can look at appearance, themes. I can change themes, activate themes. And so forth. So for all intents and purposes, this is a full-blown WordPress site. Okay, so any questions at this point in time? I hope I didn't scare you with the steps. And as I said, I'll give you the high definition video that I created with much difficulty, folks. It took me 3.5 days to get to this solution. Okay, and I'm giving you a video walkthrough of everything. Now, what's the advantage of putting your WordPress site in BitNami Cloud? Well, actually is using BitNami's service to put your WordPress site on the Amazon cloud. The advantage I can see is that it's not going to be open to hacking as opposed to you being on a shared server. It's much more secure, and taking advantage of the 12 months free tier with Amazon AWS. So actually there's no hosting charges for a small site. So it's much more secure than a normal server for sure. Okay, and that's one of the pride of having a site on the cloud itself. As you saw, we actually had to download a secret .ppk key and had to use that and shell access in just to do some stuff. Now in that regard, you may ask me what if I need to FTP stuff? Well, you can't just FTP as per normal. What you need to do here, I'm just going to show you, is to use the same PPK file under FileZilla. I just want to show you quickly in case you wonder. And this is the same approach for everyone. And get the, let me just remove the key and show it to you again. So add key file and have the .ppk secret key loaded here, and then connect using SFTP. That's how secure it is. SFTP : / So without the PPK file, you will not be able to get in to the site, and that's how secure it is. And the PPK file is unique to me, so I can show you everything here, but you won't be able to SFTP in, and SFTP means secure FTP in, because you don't have the PPK file. So I'm just going to SFTP : / clipboard me. Username is standard BitNami, so the same for you as well. Password leave blank, believe it or not, it says quick connect. So the key here is that the PPK file is your security, and since you only have it, the hackers can't guess and recreate that PPK file. So from here, I can go to apps, WordPress, and as you can see from this point onwards, it's a standard WordPress. I'm going to go into htdocs, for example, and you have your standard WordPress admin, content, index page, and so on and so forth. So if you're going to add a file or something like that here, then you do it over here. So this is your public _HTML, similar to your cPanel, but it's much more secure here because you can only SFTP if you have your .ppk file. So it's really hacker proof, seriously. Okay, and that is certainly a plus point using this approach. Now, as I said, I recognize that not all of you may do this, but I'm just saying that if you look at the possibilities, it's quite interesting, because with just a domain, I mean, think about this. Now we can start an online business, have a website for as low as, let's say, $4 a year. The $4 goes into buying a .biz domain name, for example, that costs you $3.99 US. There is no hosting charges for 12 months using AWS. You get a full-blown website that you own and that you control. This is not a subdomain, folks. This is a full-blown website that you own. Okay, so using this approach, I think it's radically new, but I think being able to follow the tutorial means that you'll be the first few guys literally in the world that are able to do this without any programming, because there are also ways to go about deploying WordPress on Amazon. Most of them require a lot of programming and typing lines of code, but for this is code free. 7 steps. Follow my tutorial. Whether you understand or not important. Just click the right buttons, you'll get to the same answer as me. Now, I'm wondering if the cloud server is able to host much larger files and able to load the website much faster than other servers. So for example, a website with many large size files and application. Well, the free tier was not designed to accommodate large files or even large bandwidth, which is why it's a micro instance. But right now I'm just refreshing. As you can see, the refresh speed is incredibly fast because the bandwidth and the pipe is all controlled by Amazon. So the good news is this: with a cloud server with BitNami, you can always get a larger server without having to redo everything, because it's a scalable architecture. So from a micro instance, you can upgrade to a larger instance. Okay, you can add more RAM, you can add more hard disk space, you can add more bandwidth. Everything is totally scalable as your business increases. And this may be a nice option for your clients. Even as you start your business, you start it with free hosting, and as you need more bandwidth, you can add it accordingly. So the beautiful part about cloud hosting is that it is very secure, for sure, 100% secure, as you can see here. Without a PPK file, you can't do anything. And the fact that it's scalable. So I think scalability and security makes the cloud hosting, especially with Amazon, something that companies are looking for. Of course, honestly, this technology is really more for larger companies with databases and deployment. But the point I'm showing you here is to make you understand that even we little guys can use this approach to go out there and create a site. I mean, what I'm showing you here is a matter of, the whole process is a matter of just not more than 20 minutes, or I would say half an hour. Follow my PowerPoint slides, follow the video, watch it once or twice, and go out there. Folks, just click the buttons. You don't have to understand this stuff, alright? I've done the understanding for you. Click the buttons and you'll be totally fine.